Casey Anthony's defense attorney, Jose Baez, is here tonight. And we just finished our TV interview, but we've stayed behind because we're receiving a ton of calls. Jose is willing to answer more of your questions online, which is where we are right now. So I appreciate you guys coming on over the internet. Jose, I appreciate you staying. Tracy, North Carolina, go right ahead.
Hey, I was just going to say, I know that you were vilified, you and Casey both, the whole time. I mean, it was a big build-up. I watched it. I wanted to hate her, too. But I was wondering how you felt about the way the jurors were treated and portrayed after, because I thought it was terrible. I was ashamed how people treated them or talked about them, felt about them like they were all ignorant, weren't really in the same trial and all this other kind of stuff. I thought it was all nonsense. I mean, I was just wondering what you thought about that.
All right.
Tracy, I could tell you I wish you had called in earlier so perhaps more people could have heard your question. I too am disgusted with the way the jury was treated. This jury didn't volunteer for jury service. They didn't make up excuses like hundreds of other people on the panel did as to why they couldn't serve. And what they ultimately ended up doing was volunteering for some type of incarceration during the trial and had to sit there for 8, sometimes 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and not be able to move and just listen to evidence. And this jury listened a great deal, and they were objective in their opinions. And if you listen to some of the things they said, a lot of them said, I wanted to find her guilty. And that was really because of the big hoopla surrounding the case initially and the anger that had boiled up. But what they did was the brave thing, the courageous thing, and that was they based their decision on the evidence and not the emotion. I think when you have situations like this, that it threatens our justice system tremendously, because you could be the next person that for some reason the media thinks your case has legs and decides to cover it in a way that is unfavorable to you. And that next jury, looking at what happened to this jury, may say, you know what, I don't need those kind of problems. I'm voting this person guilty, and I don't care what the evidence says.
Do you think Mr. Zimmerman has a similar concern in the Trayvon Martin case?
I think everyone has this concern. And, I think Martin Luther King said it best when he said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
And how did Casey find you as an attorney? How did you guys get to know each other?
I had a very good reputation in the Hispanic community before taking on this case. I had taken on a couple of big cases in the Hispanic community, so I had a small niche. And when she was in lockup, she asked someone, anyone know a good attorney? And someone had recommended me, so that's how I ended up getting the case.
Okay, Sarah, finally in Kentucky, I got to you. What's going on?
Hey. Well, I keep hearing the words disgusted, injustice, unethical, how things might harm or help his case, the strategies that he used to defend this monster. And I would like to have seen his face when he answers this. What about Kaylee? If Kaylee drowned, what kind of mother or person would not have called 911? What kind of monster would duct tape a child's head if she drowned? I don't understand how this whole hour that you've been talking, not one time have you mentioned any injustice for this little baby girl.
Okay. Nancy Grace, is that you? Is that you, Nancy? Is that you? Well, let's let Jose answer this.
Well, first of all, you have to understand something. The evidence that a lot of people assume to be true was put on trial. This evidence of the duct tape, for example, as this caller mentions, the jury saw this evidence, saw these photographs, heard about its collection, heard about the scene, and rejected it. Didn't believe that.
Didn't believe that the duct tape was around her mouth.
Correct, and and we disputed that significantly from the very first time we saw these photographs. We disagreed with the assessment that was being made by the jurors. And when people want to criticize Casey about what kind of a mother she was,
not calling 911 if she drowned, legitimate.
I understand that, but you have to walk in someone's shoes before you go judging them. And I will tell you this, that everyone seems to want to ignore, and that is that every single person who took the stand testified that Casey was an incredible mother. Now, a lot of people will disagree and say, well, a good mother would never do this and would never do that, and I understand those arguments are understandable completely, but I can guarantee you this: if there was a soul in this world who had seen Casey mistreat Kaylee in any way, they would have been the first witness on that stand. And the prosecution and law enforcement left no stone unturned trying to find evidence against Casey, and they couldn't do it. And the reason, if you want to put my own personal beliefs in there, the reason for that is because no such person existed. And I realize people's anger. I understand where it comes from, but I have to keep reminding you of what the actual evidence was. Mm-hmm. And the evidence was that she was a good mother, and every single prosecution witness testified to that.
It seemed like Cindy had issues with her mothering, but wasn't going to turn on her daughter.
Says you.
Says me.
But
Says me.
when she got on the stand, she said different.
Yeah.
She said that Casey was an incredible mother.
You're right.
And I want to remind you, we never put a single witness on the stand to testify about Casey being a good mother. The prosecution put these people on the stand, and we questioned them about it, and they all said that. So, when I look at this evidence, and I have to look at what was actually testified to, not what was in the media, not what people speculated about, mm-hmm. but what was actually presented. And what was actually presented was that she was a great mother.
What the jurors saw.
Yeah.
All right, Wanda in Kentucky, you'll be our last caller. What do you got?
Hi. I was wanting to ask Jose if Casey is going to benefit any from this book, or who's going to be benefiting for the book. Is it going to go to charity? Is it going to go to Casey? Is it going to go to Jose?
So who benefits from the book?
Well, I think that's a great question. I'm glad she asked it. This is my story. This is what I went through for 3.5 years, and this is my book. Casey will not receive a penny, and it's not my obligation to, my case is over with her, and I've gone on with my life. I'm not obligated to support her financially in any way, nor is that my role, nor has she asked for that. So this is my story, what I went through, and I can tell you this: for the 3.5 years that I worked, almost 7 days a week, even if this book were to sell 1 million copies, I would still probably end up making somewhere around $8 an hour.
Right, I understand. In terms of all the time you put in the case versus writing the book.
Absolutely.
And is Casey going to write her own book?
You'd have to ask Casey that. I do not answer questions for Casey.
Okay.
My role ended the day of sentencing, and I wish her the best in life, and I hope that everyone can grow and learn from this experience.
Jose, I really thank you for being here. Again, thank you. Thank you for answering questions, and thank you all for watching us. And be sure to tune in here. We'll continue to take your calls and questions throughout the week. Thanks for watching.